Okay, so I am going to call this meeting of the Circulation Interlibrary Loan Advisory Group to order at 9:32 a.m. on June 11th. So we have everyone present so far. Lori White from ELA is the only one not present at the moment, and Kim Hagelin from Wilmette is acting as proxy for Louise today. So let's just jump into it. I don't think this is going to be a long meeting. I think I'll be able to get you guys out of here pretty quickly. So the first, like 3 agenda topics are all related to notices. So the first one I wanted to touch on is related to the telephony hold notice. So our telephony system can only support 1 message per notice type, which means everyone shares the same hold notice message. Pre-COVID, the message said, this is your local library calling for name, so-and-so. Our record indicates you have an item or items being held for you. These items can be picked up at the following location, gives the library name. Please pick up these items as soon as possible. Last spring or summer, when libraries began reopening and offering holds pickup, practices varied so much between libraries. Some libraries were able to use their drive-up window. Other libraries had on-demand curbside. Some libraries had curbside by appointment only. So very different between library to library. Because of that, we adjusted the hold notice message to say, to include the text that hold pickup options may have changed and to contact the library for specific instructions. So now that the state is progressing to the later stages of the Restore Illinois plan, we are interested in getting a recommendation from the advisory group if the telephony hold notice should be reverted back to its original state, or if we should continue to include the part about hold pickup options may have changed and contact the library. So with that, I'm going to turn over to you. Do you think pickup procedures have kind of stabilized between libraries around the system, or do you think patrons still need a prompt to kind of check in with the library?
I know our patrons don't need a prompt. They just know what they're doing, and they're so happy they're coming in. And so we still have a little bit of curbside, but for my library, I'd say it could be reverted back, but I don't know what the other libraries are at.
Yeah. We have a drive-up window, so I would be fine reverting back. That's just me.
Yeah.
But I would be fine reverting back to the original pre-COVID language.
I think if people are using holds, then they know that what the library is, that's open or not open. I feel like, if they're users and they know what's going on. I mean, a lot of our folks don't even know that we're open, but those are the ones that aren't coming in and as often or using the library.
Right.
I feel like it's such a small population that uses telephone notices. In regards to, our library was surprised by how many people compared to Evanston use telephone notices. There's roughly about 3,000 patrons, but they're not active. There's only 200 of them that are active. So I feel like those 200 are typically our older population who have already come into the library and established a routine. So I'm fine reverting back.
I agree.
I agree. I'm fine with reverting back too. We hope to fill holds soon.
Great. So it sounds like everyone's pretty unanimous here. With that, unless there's any other discussion, may I have a motion to revert telephony hold notice back to pre-COVID language?
Motion to revert.
Seconded from Kim.
Okay. Maggie motioned and Kim seconded. Okay. Excellent. So check on that one. Thank you. Moving on to, yeah.
Is there anything that we need to do on our end at all?
Nope. We will select a date a couple weeks into the future, so that way we can notify libraries ahead of the this the change.
Okay,
So it'll probably be, if not late June, then maybe like the first week of July or so.
okay,
So in the next week's e-news, probably watch for an announcement of the date, and we'll also send out an alert to the circulation listserv.
okay, great, thank you.
Let's see. So the next agenda topic also notices, and this one comes from the User Experience Advisory Group. So right now they are doing user testing with some patrons on notices and kind of just evaluating the format and content that's involved in notices. The first question they wanted to present to the group involved the library card expiration notice. So this notice is completely optional for libraries. Your library may or may not use it. It is issued to patrons 31 days before their library card expires. And it's only issued through email. So only users with an email address in the record receive a reminder. Basically, all it says is like, your library card's going to expire soon, like time to renew. As the agenda says, the language used in the library expiration notice, turns out it varies. Some libraries have it set up where the term library card is used, and other libraries have it set up to where the term library membership is used. And the UX advisory group wants to use consistent terminology, and they made the preliminary decision to use the term library card. However, they did want to double check with the Circulation and Interlibrary Loan Advisory Group that this decision was appropriate, or to see if there were any strong feelings towards using the term library membership. So again, turning it over to the group, what are your thoughts on the User Experience Advisory Group proposal? Do you seem to have a preference between the term library card or library membership?
Can I ask you a question? Are you saying that we don't use it, but I'm just curious. Every library has the option to change that? Like some libraries can say membership, some libraries can say library card. I thought these were all auto-generated by.
That's what they should have been consistent. So I'm not entirely sure where like the disconnect came from in the individual text threads.
Okay, but this isn't a library that said, hey, make it membership because I don't like card.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I can't find any history of like that conversation or that request.
This is just a little glitch in Polaris's sending out of email things. Like, okay, that's what I meant. So I think library card works if that's what UX said and what everybody else agrees with. I don't use it, so I'll just shut up now.
Library card sounds good to us. I think membership is confusing to members. They feel like this isn't a gym membership. This is a library card, very specific to what exactly is expiring. They want transparency and they want very clear definition of what exactly is expiring. My library card membership, what does that mean? So I think library card tells you your library card is expiring in 31 days or 30 days or whatever. So yeah.
I agree. I like library card too.
Right. That's a good point about membership versus card. Like a gym membership, I hear that and I'm like, okay, I've got to pay something now.
Right. Exactly. Oh, no, something's due. I forgot to pay a bill. Yeah.
I agree. Card.
I make a motion to approve UX Advisory Group's use of library card terminology in the library card expiration notice.
I second the motion.
Okay, so got a motion from Kim and a second from Aaron. I guess I should say all in favor.
Aye.
Unanimous. I see hands held up. Thanks, guys.
Hands all around.
Hands all around. Okay, and then any other discussion or questions around that topic?
I just wanted to say at Palatine, we're getting away from the word patron.
Oh.
And we're calling them members, but we're still calling it library card. So I think it's more consistent. the library card verbiage.
That makes sense.
People
Oh,
understand that.
Also pay attention now where patron is used in text.
We're trying because, you know, they may not know that we call them patrons. I think members and more general term recognizable. So we're trying, actually renamed all our departments also. So I'm not circulation anymore, I'm member services. So
All right.
we wanted to make it more, because we used to have information services department, and then people were like, well, what is that? So we changed it to adult services. And so, you know, and with our renovation, it was perfect timing, so. It's just that we're still calling it all the old names. So that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I bet that's going to be definitely a shift for. Huh, that's interesting. Very cool. Well, okay. Well, we will. I'm going to wait and see. We've got another guest logging on. So I'm just going to wait until Karen pops in here. And then we will move on to the third agenda topic. Okay. Hello, Karen. Welcome to the meeting. We are, just for your reference, we have already moved on to the third agenda topic, inclusion of barcode in email hold notices. So again, yet another agenda topic related to notices. And this one again comes from the user experience advisory group. This time the question is focused on item barcodes in the email hold notice. So I did include an image of a hold notice at the end of the agenda for you to reference. So one of the goals for the notices, with the notices, I think the user experience group is aiming towards, is to having it be really manageable in like a mobile format. So one of the arguments for excluding item barcodes in a hold notice is that it allows the notice to be more easily viewed on a mobile device. However, there is concern that removing the item barcode would potentially cause issues for circulation staff if patrons had questions regarding holds. So at this time, I do want to share my screen just to kind of show you just a few things here that might impact your decision. So I'm going to start with this. So this is the email hold notice image that was included in the agenda. So as you can see, the hold notice includes the title, the author, the general format of the item, the barcode of the item, and then the held until date, or the date the hold expires on the shelf. So the proposal is removing the barcode column. Now, for circulation staff, when a patron comes to you and asks a question about their hold, when you go into their record, I've got a sample record up here. In the patron's holds held tab, there's no direct reference to a barcode in their holds held tab. To get a barcode, staff would need to click on the ready for pickup item, which opens the, I let this thing sit for way too long, which opens up the hold request record. And then from here, you can look at the history tab to see which item was trapped by using the status and then the reference the barcode. So it's definitely a couple clicks for circ staff. So there's arguments either way on whether it's more beneficial to patrons for having the notices be more readable on a mobile device versus it's more beneficial for patrons having circ staff have a readily available barcode for troubleshooting.
Just to confirm, this is only hold notifications, not item overdues in the future. This is just holds.
This topic is just related to holds.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to confirm. I know it says that, but.
And that's a good thing to clarify.
I can go first. I feel like keeping the barcode is helpful for both members and the staff. I would not be in favor of removing the barcode. It does come in handy quite a bit for circulation staff. Yeah.
How
I
do
see
you-
both sides. I mean, a lot of people are using their little mobile devices. I know I live by it. I breathe it. I do work from it. So I don't know. I can see both sides though. And, you know, when the barcode there, I'm going to ask you, our patrons will be like, 3, 1, 2, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 20. By the time you're doing that, you get like, I'm a slow typer. But I don't know. So I can see both sides of the coin in this respect. So I would probably not ask them for a barcode number. I would click on the item because I'd want to see all the information, you know, and I'm just used to that. But that's me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty neutral on the topic. We really don't go off of what the patron has on their phone. We just look up their account and go from there. But like I said, I'm pretty neutral.
I second with Aaron. I can't remember a time that I've used it myself, except if it was for myself to actually then copy and paste into that, but I can do that with the patron's barcode or phone number.
I agree that I don't think it helps us too much.
Well,
And we have
I'm not
members
sure it
that
helps.
don't have, that we actually have members that don't have cell phones at all. So that's where, like Maggie said, it can go either way. So they're not even it's gonna be a problem for them. So we try to make it as easier for the member as possible. So like I said, it's helpful for both sides, the member and the staff. So, but I'll go with what the group wants.
I don't know that the barcode is helpful to the patron. I think having the format is better. They know if it's a DVD or a book that's come in. So I'm not sure for the patron whether they really need the barcode. The barcode for the staff would give us a clue. We would know it was not our barcode, so we know it was something from another library. But
True.
if it's, you know, easier for them to read on a mobile device, I don't feel strongly either way, but I would be happy if we would remove it for the patron's benefit.
So do you think staff would feel comfortable then if a patron did come up to them with a question about a hold? And we can certainly create like documentation or training around this, that staff would feel comfortable understanding the pathway to get to the item barcode if they needed it.
Again, for my staff, they do it first. I mean, every time there's a call and there's a question, the first thing they ask is, give me your library card number. That's
Yes.
the first thing, and they want to be in that account. So they don't even go through like, say, what's the item you want? Oh, let me type the item in. They go right to that patron account always.
Right.
So.
At this time, just I guess a show of hands, who would be in favor of removing the item barcode from the hold notice? That's okay, Rosa. And then who would be in favor of keeping the
Should we ask Karen, because we can't see her hand?
It's true. Karen, if you have strong opinions, we'd love to hear them.
Can she hear us?
She is muted.
Yeah, I don't think she's hearing us. All right.
Well,
what was the recommendation?
the
Wait, where
recommend.
is that?
So I think Karen was unmuted for a second.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was unmuted. Now I am, okay? You know, I'm kind of in favor of not having the barcode. We're kind of like the rest of you guys where we go into the patron barcode and we would look at the history, but I don't think I, really have that many questions about the hold. People just come to pick up their holds.
Thanks,
When you
Karen.
lose the hold on the shelf that you start looking for stuff.
So the I think the user experience group, I don't have a like solid recommendation for the user experience group. I think they were really interested in input from this group about their decision.
Well, I make a motion to exclude the barcode from the email hold notices.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so Maggie motions, Julie seconds, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
Okay, I'll put my
That's
hand
okay.
up.
You can oppose. That's totally okay.
Yeah.
Recording purposes only.
Oh, since I'm not really part of this group, I don't think you need my say so.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, the motion passes. I will pass the information along to the user experience group. I guess our recommendation to them, basically.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're on to the last one. So this last agenda topic is kind of going to be figured like the meaty topic of this meeting. So Database Management Committee beginning a discussion on standardizing practices related to lost and paid items. And just for a little historical context about this agenda topic, back in 2017, when we were first preparing to migrate to Polaris, one of the goals of governance was to provide a more consistent experience for patrons of CCS libraries. And so governing board in their July 2017 meeting discussed and voted on a number of practices to standardize, which includes things like notice language, the ability to pick up anywhere, activating auto renewal for all libraries. One standardization that did not pass at that time was a standard lost and paid refund window. So at this time, libraries are still just using local practices for things like lost and paid refunds. This discussion is kind of starting back up again. And at this point, it's purely a discussion. So just kind of discussing possibilities or opportunities for standardizing practices related to lost items and lost and paid items. We're absolutely not ready to make any kind of recommendations or proposing areas to standardize. This is definitely a topic we want to discuss thoroughly with our different advisory groups. So thought we'd kind of start here with some information gathering from this group. And so I just want to take some time today to talk about lost item practices. So this includes both lost and unpaid items and lost and paid items. I've got a handful of questions I included in the agenda that I wanted to touch on. Of course, if you have like other discussion questions that you want to bring up or comments not related to one of these questions, like by all means, just interject with them, because the more information and opinions we can gather at this point, the better. So kind of starting off with this and kind of starting with the point that governing board kind of left off talking about lost and paids. So at your library, how long after an item becomes lost will you allow the patron to return the item? So in this scenario, the patron pays for an item, but then they end up finding it and they want to return it. At what point are they no longer eligible to get a refund for the item?
If they have, for the item, we give them a 60-day window to get a refund.
Okay.
And we do 1 month after payment.
At Crystal Lake, we do 6 months.
Wilmette does 1 year. And if I recall, Evanston did 1 year as well, if nothing's changed.
Okay.
I guess we have a very short window at Fremont. We give them 7 days.
Okay. Wow, is this really, yeah, this really varies. 7 days to a year. So then I'm guessing then for like the maybe the 6 month and the 1 year, is at the point then where you also delete the item record? Do you know?
Ours is 6 months after the original due date, but it's
Okay.
deleted.
we don't have a practice in place yet.
We don't either. And if there is, I've never heard of it. And
Okay.
if there is, I don't know who does it.
But
I really
Maggie
don't
said-
think there is, because I had to do a lot of cleanup, let me tell you, the last couple of months. So I really don't think there's a standardized practice for Round Lake. Now that's just the refund you were asking about, not like the return of an item, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, how long will you give a patron back a refund for the cost of the item?
Okay.
And we'll give refunds on other libraries' items. If they pay.
Will other libraries take it though?
No, we'll send it back to the other library, but for the most part, we just want to, and I think Jose did that with Evanston as well, is he felt it was the patron, we're helping the patron. If they did find it, we would issue the refund.
Okay, yeah, because I
I
did
can't
receive
speak
it.
for, I won't speak for Evanston any longer, but we'll offer the refund.
We had a book that came up returned within our window of returns, and there was a big note saying that we're not taking it back from the library. And I can't remember which library. We're not taking it back. What I did is I sent a check to them too, to the library, the only library. They wanted their money. It was checked out at their library, so, but it was our patron. So we just sent them a check and, you know.
Wait, I forgot, we're changing our policy on Tuesday next week. No refunds after 1 year in only Wilmette items. Sorry, my apologies. I forgot we are updating our board policies next week.
Karen, I've got a question for Fremont. So after 7 days, you do not give a refund for a lost and paid item. Will you still accept the item back though?
Well, really, if they've, we're not going to give them a refund. And if they want to return the item to us, we'll take it. But, normally we just say, if you do find the item, it's yours to keep.
Okay.
Is what we really have not had too many people bringing stuff back after they've paid for it. Again, we make exceptions. I mean, really, if it's like 2 weeks, we probably could go more like a month, would probably be more beneficial. Because I think after the 7 days, I mean, someone brought it like 2 weeks back and we've given them the refund. So again, it's a case by case basis.
We don't offer refunds at all in Palatine. We found that the people, well, first we did checks. We allowed 30 days and we did checks, and then they didn't pick up their checks. So then that was a problem with accounting upstairs. Then we started putting cash in an envelope and having them come pick up cash. And a lot of times they didn't come for that either. But one thing we do differently, and when this policy is up for review, we might change it, is if it's our item, we allow the person to buy the item and bring it in. And then they still have to pay a process fee, but they can replace it as long as it's an exact ISBN match. And that has been a bit confusing now that we're in CCS, because, it's only if it's our item. We can't do it for, any of the other libraries. So that's something definitely we're going to review, and I'll bring to light when we review our policy too.
Well,
We
and I
just
do,
changed that too.
and I do know, if you look at that chart, that ILL chart about, there is some libraries that will accept replacements. Because we have done that also, and I've actually contacted, another CCS library, because someone brought in a replacement and they did accept it. So, I mean, again, you could, reach out to the other library and see if they would accept a replacement.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I know I did let someone from another library replace something and just send it to me. I forget what library it was. It was just easier.
Do any other libraries allow patrons to purchase replacement items?
Yes, Crystal Lake does, but it's only on our items. And if it's a hardcover, it needs to be replaced with a hardcover. So it needs to be, the same item.
Right, and obviously Fremont does also accept replacements. Again, it has to be a new and unused copy, and it has to match that barcode.
Yes.
Well, not the barcode, the ISBN, sorry.
Yeah, us
Yes.
too. It's gotta be exact if it's a 25-year collection edition, it has to be the same one. We also don't take used stuff, give us the new stuff and show us a receipt because we don't trust you sometimes. Somebody actually took saran wrap, wrapped a movie up and said, it's new, there you go. In the instant, I didn't even open it, but we had gone round and round with this patron. She finally paid because we mailed it back to her and said, this is not appropriate. We don't accept fakos. So
We
just
just,
funny what people do.
go ahead, Erin.
We don't accept replacements. It's more beneficial just to get it through like Baker and Taylor.
We're changing it just for processing in our technical services department. It's a lot for us to do and set up. So we've removed that as of Tuesday. No more replacements will be accepted for any materials. Because the DVDs are the big ones where patrons want to give us something better than what because it's cheaper, like Disney. It's hard to get a Disney movie. So we're just done. I'd rather give them a break on the cost of the item and take the money and buy something else.
That's what we do, Kim.
Mhm. I think the processing fee is where our staff gets the most confused since we don't charge one. And it shows up as a bill for a patron who checks it out at our library. And we do have the ability to waive that processing fee. It just confuses them that it shows up in the patrons.
I'm kind of on that topic. I don't know if any libraries here, I think we're about like half and half now in terms of libraries that charge processing fees and libraries that don't charge processing fees. Excuse me. If there's any libraries here that do charge processing fees, will you also refund the patron for the processing fee or just the cost of the item? I see some heads
That's the
shaking.
cost of the item.
Yeah, just the cost of the item, not the processing fee. And we make that clear when they pay. That
It
if
depends,
this does show up, you will
Yeah.
still, you won't get the processing fee back.
Yeah, and for us, it depends. They won't get, we don't typically do it, but if they come in and they've had hard times and they give me the right sob story and I'm feeling benevolent that day, they can have the $5 processing fee back too, but it's in a one-to-one basis type thing. And of course, we make it very clear, hey, we're doing you a favor because you're crying on my shoulder, but we typically will not refund the $5 processing fee.
We waive it because we don't charge one. If it was checked out at our library, we waived that $5 processing fee. So that way there isn't a confusion.
Same.
Well, and our refunds we have to go through a process, and the refund check is issued by the board. So it goes through a review by the library director first. So I can recommend if not to waive a processing fee, but usually it's rare unless it's our fault. It turns out that it was on our shelf all along, and then that's a little bit different. But generally, we don't refund the processing fee.
Yeah, we refund it if it's under $20. We refund it out of our cash register. And but if it's over $20, like if it's a $50 book, then that's going to wipe out our cash register. So then we run a check request for those types of items. So we have a limit.
Okay. Do you ever encounter confusion or concern with patrons who may have gone through I guess lost and paid items, different libraries, and they've experienced different practices? I guess the question is more do you ever encounter patrons who are well, at this library, they did this for me and with an item? I see some head shaking. Okay, that's good. That's good.
I did have a patron who sent me a note. She spilled something on a book that belonged to, and I can't remember the library, but anyway, she spilled, and she contacted that library and said, I spilled water on this book, but it was pretty nasty anyway, so do I have to pay for it? So anyway, it reverted all back to me, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm so tired of some of these people. Again, I just sent them a check. There, take it from the patron, we'll pay for it. We will cover this patron's idiocy and stuff like that. So we're trying to be very, very kind to people in this terrible times we're living. So, but other than that, I rarely have any problems between other libraries materials. It's very far and few between. That's me.
That's good. That's good to hear.
I'm actually finding more discrepancies, or just a couple actually, but I'm still new to CCS, that where the claim returned, we can't, of course, put in other libraries material to claim return, and our patrons are so used to that because they use it and abuse it, that.
Oh,
And
You
so, I'm sorry,
I was gonna say you can actually claim another library's item.
we can?
You
Yes.
can.
I never
It
do
is
that.
appropriate.
Yeah, you can now.
Okay, when did
You
that
can do-
change? Because I thought it was a big no-no.
We oh gosh, when we got rid of the quarterly billing process where libraries sent money back and forth to
Was
each
I
other.
know before my time, but I swear. Well, now I learned something new today. I said I was new to CCS still. So we're still learning
That's
over here.
quarterly billing. It still gives me nightmares.
Oh my God. That was one reason why I couldn't imagine going to CCS years ago. That was, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, now I know. But so this item belongs to, oh my gosh, I forget. Anyway, they told me that they would bill the patron if they didn't, they continue to look for it, but they will bill the patron if they don't find it. So that is one practice that I wish we would all have be on the same page about, I guess. Because this patron, she's my patron and she's a member. See, I'm still calling her patron. And she ripped me a new one because she's like, it's Palatine's responsibility. I returned it there. Well, it's not here. It's not on our shelf. It's not on the lending library shelf. So that's one thing maybe for the future that I wish we could talk about in this
Okay.
group.
Did she check it out at your library?
That was
She
my
did.
question.
It was a hold.
Check Because also in that coding, didn't they say that if it's checked out at your library, then you can, put it in claims return, you can, it's like, and you don't send money for it,
Okay.
right?
You can do
Right.
whatever you want with it if it's
Yeah.
checked out at your library and waive
Yeah.
the cost. If you
It's like
wanted to.
becomes your library, your item, according to what I remember from all those
So
comments.
yeah, you definitely have the agency to kind of handle the situation as
Okay.
is appropriate for the
So-
situation and for your library.
If she gets billed for it, I can waive it? I'm
You
sorry.
can waive it.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
And no, so that is actually a really good area then to kind of, I guess, work some more clarification into as well.
Exactly with
And
the
that's what
missing
I
part.
said when,
Sorry,
that's what
with
I
the
said.
missing part. Sorry, Maggie.
No, what I'm saying is that's what I'm talking about. Some libraries are like, don't either remember that or whatever. And that was the one case. And they said, we want the money. Okay, there you go. I'll send it. If you're asking me for the money, I'll be happy to send anybody money. My library doesn't, go after me and say, why are we sending a check to, Glenview or Des Plaines or whatever? Or they just sign off and give me the check. So if anybody wants money, you just call me. And if it's reasonable, I'll send you the money. I just saying that.
So you'll pay for this book?
Yeah, I'll send you the
remember that.
money. Just
I'll remember that.
so that it looks like
It's a big AP book.
Maggie's gonna get all these letters from people wanting money.
I know. It's just hard to argue with other libraries and things like that. It's just really hard. And to me, I don't want to argue. I don't want to have issues with other libraries. I'm old, as you can see. I'm ready to just say, whatever. That's right. Tell them at work too, the director, whatever you want. I don't care anymore.
I think some of it is that our staff is so used to still telling the patron to contact the library that even though they checked it out at, let's say they checked it out at Wilmette, but it's a Round Lake item. I don't want my patrons calling Maggie.
No.
I want an
I agree.
email. I want an email sent to Maggie that dictates, hey, Maggie, please look on your shelf for this and come back. That's what, it should not be on the patron.
No,
It's
I
not-
agree.
And it's I'm trying to teach my staff to not have have the patron call. Unless that patron returned it at Brown Lake, then Maggie and I can go back. You know, that would be the only thing. I think that's the hardest.
Everybody knows that was me. I trust you all. Just do whatever you want.
And culture.
I've said that for, I don't know, I became the manager in 2012, and I've said that you guys make the decision. It's at your library. You know, I can't see it. If the patron's there in front of you, I can't see it. So, and that's why I did like that part where if it's checked out at your library, you deal with it.
Yes, and I've seen it also where the patron has been billed when it went back to that library. Our patron's been billed by another library after it went back to that library. And they got a notice from that library that they're being billed for it. And that just seems like, wait, it's already been off of my account all this time, and all of a sudden I got billed for it when it made its way back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
Those issues for us are far and few between. I had an issue with another library about some DVDs, but once they go into the bins, it's anybody's guess what happens. I had 2 DVDs that came back from the bins without discs. I just call it, you know what, replace it. So I told the adult selector, because what I do with these, I go, I don't care. Discard them and replace them or don't. I don't care. But we can't bill the patron, and we can't contact the patron, and we're not going to go after an ILL patron. So that's that.
Well, thank you all for educating me this morning.
You don't know how often I have to tell the team, don't ask me, go in the portal because it's all in there and I don't remember everything. And it's true. Alicia, thank goodness for Alicia. She does have she does, and or if not, she'll get in there right away and send out the wording and stuff. But yeah, I do remember a few things. Like the patron checks it out at your library, it's an ILL, you decide what you want to do with it. Waive it, keep it, throw it away.
Culture is hard to change sometimes.
Yes, it is.
These are some good areas to just kind of clarify practices. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
And I know we talk about missing claims, because since we're still talking about Rosalie's claims return, the missing parts is where I have the hardest part understanding, because it shows up on our unclaimed report, or not unclaimed, the claims returned report. But it's kind of confusing. Is it in transit? Is it not in transit? Where is that item sitting at? That's where we get confused.
Okay.
So the missing parts can, like, I like the concept of it, but when it's your item and you don't do that practice, you don't know what's going on with it. Should I repurchase it? Is the disc still there? What's going? That's where I think. Yeah.
Do a lot of people
We don't use it either.
Missing parts, claims missing parts? Are a lot of people using that?
I'm not sure. I think I've received maybe like 3 or 4 requests for like getting notices going for that service. I don't think there's many libraries using claim missing parts.
Yeah, because we just continued with our practice that, we actually just contact the patron and let them know that they've, forgot to put the disc in the case. Even for our ILL stuff, it's us kind of contacting that patron to bring the stuff back. Just seems to work easier that way.
I leave it on the patron's account because it makes a few less steps for me. It stays on their account. I don't care if they returned it. If they returned without a disc, what good is it giving me that they returned the case? It stays on their account. They get a letter. You know what? Get it back to us. And then, we'll waive whatever you want, but just get us the item back. If they don't follow through, then it gets billed. If it's still not, then it's going to go into unique. And believe me, my prom shelf is like tiny right now. I've got a girl on there that just is whippy about sending letters out to people and contacting them and, following through. So I don't take it off their account at all.
We don't take it off the account either. I mean, it stays on there, but we, like you said, we contact the patron, and if they continue to not return it, eventually it'll be billed on their card.
Yes, I love the automaticness of that.
So yeah, right now, I would say right now, the only thing that's truly standardized system-wide with lost items is that period of time before an overdue item becomes lost, which is the 45-day period. It seems like some other areas that we can discuss. Standardization includes how the period of time a library is willing to give refunds. I'm making lists and organizing in my mind. How long a library will accept back a lost item. And so that would include, I suppose, both lost and paid, lost, and as well as lost and unpaid.
But lost and unpaid is different for us. We
Okay.
will take the material back within a year for anything that they find 6 months later that they never paid for. They can just toss it in the bin, we'll discharge it, it's off their account. If it's over a year, then we will trap it again, and the girl that does our proms, she will rebill it, and she can, in case it accidentally gets discharged, which it usually does, she'll rebill it, she'll send them a letter, she'll tell them, hey, it's been a year, we can't take this back. There's the difference with the paid stuff that we give refunds to and the stuff we're willing to take back.
Maggie, do you have it set up with CCS that after 1 year, even if the patron returns it, the bill still stays on the account?
I don't have that set up.
Okay, because you can do that, where the bill stays on the account, and if your staff member discharges it, nothing will show up on the screen. It'll just stay billed.
Okay, I'll have to look into that then, because
Yeah.
because usually you get a warning screen. That's how they know it's been over a year. Is that what you're talking about?
No, so what'll happen is you can, oh, go ahead, Nico, maybe you can.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I'll give like the CCS side, but I'm sure the perspective is different from the library side since you're actually in there and doing. But what we can set up, like Kim said, we can set up an automation where when a patron checks in an item after a certain period of time, instead of having to deal with that pop-up screen, it just like it will automatically check the item in, but the bill will remain on the patron's card.
Okay.
So if you're interested, reach out to
All
me. I can get you like some screenshots to show you what it
Okay.
would look like and
Sounds
set up
good.
in training if you want to play around with it.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, some other areas it sounds like would be potential for discussion would be regarding refunds for processing fees. Refunds related to like intra-CCS items. So practices vary differing between local items and intra-CCS loans. Replacements.
Can you add damage to there? Some libraries use damaged instead of lost and paid. So it comes up on a
Absolutely.
different report. And you have to process that completely different.
Okay. Yeah, any other areas in terms of both lost and unpaid and lost and paid that there might be areas for discussion about standardization?
Is it, I don't know who uses the refund button, but I know at one time it wasn't able to be removed. I'd really like to not have that refund button as a pop-up for staff. I know the report exists in CCS. I don't know if libraries use that refund button.
Are you talking about
when
the credit button?
Yeah, the credit button, sorry.
Okay.
Credit or refund. You know, when you scan it in, it says leave as is or refund.
Wave.
That,
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just writing these down, making sure I get everything.
Was that a Polaris thing though that can't be removed?
At this time it can't be removed, and there's no separate permission to deactivate it.
But that's a good
That'd be
thing, idea lab thing, right?
Yes, Karen. Idea lab.
There is there's some other things like that too that would be so nice if you could add or delete some of those standardized.
Okay, so in a perfect world, what would a standardized policy look like? And I have a feeling I'm probably going to get like different answers from everyone here because everyone's practices are so different. But would you, I guess in a perfect world, would like all the CCS have the same refund policy? Or in a perfect world, would everyone like be able to just apply their local practices? Any thoughts at this time?
I think everybody's doing something different or slightly different. I mean, we don't offer refunds at all. If they pay, we give them as long as they want, but if they pay for the item, it belongs to them. If they find it 3 weeks later, the next day, we don't take it back. We don't take replacements. It's theirs, and not every library does that. We only make exceptions for extenuating circumstances. We had a family members, their house burned down, and they had over $1,000 worth of items, and we did eat that cost, but that was an extenuating circumstance. Otherwise, if you pay, we give them as long as they want, but if they pay for it, or they've given up and they pay for it and then they find it the next day, our receipts actually say no refunds in big red letters. So, but it has to be extenuating circumstances. So I don't know how standardized that would be, because every library has their own policies and procedures on board approved what we can and cannot do in circulation. So I don't know how you would standardize that for everybody.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say that our board has to approve that sort of stuff. So I would vote for local policies or local procedures. You know what I mean? Practice.
I think we are so across the board, as Rosa and Aaron said, that I think local policies would probably have to prevail here. And that's all I have.
Yeah, the collection size is dictated. I know with like maybe there's a smaller library who can't take things back a year later, you know, their budget doesn't allow it. And then you're adding a refund to that. It ideally just seems like, as Rosa and Aaron and Maggie says, the board is going to be a big thing. I remember one board, I don't remember what library it was, had to give approval to waive anything over X amount of dollars a couple of years ago. That came up in one of our discussions. I just can't imagine that same board, if they're still in place, approving a standard policy. And district versus city libraries too.
True. Well,
In a perfect world, yes. But
I will say this is extremely helpful. Just kind of hear about the different policies and getting opinions as we start this discussion. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if it goes where it goes.
I'd be surprised if the directors all can agree on this. That would surprise me immensely. And if they do all agree, then well, I'll be happy to do whatever they all decide.
Are there, I guess, any other comments related to anything with lost and paid items? I don't know if I quite feel the need about question F about information or data that would help you make this decision. I think was kind of the how the discussion has gone. I don't know if there would be any data in general that would sway like a standardized practice vote.
Well, it could be something that might be brought up to all the library circulation or team or ILL teams, so that they can offer input too. I suspect it would be like, much like this, where we're all across the board, even a survey, maybe some kind of like, what are your local practices, so that, it's not up for too much discussion, because again, like I said, I think we would just be all when we're all together. But knowing what everybody's local practices might help,
That's
and then
true.
see how far everybody is from each other. Maybe there's more together than there is apart. I don't know.
That's true. That'd be a
Yeah.
great way to identify maybe an area that we could like codify and make standard.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the other things I noticed being here at Wilmette versus Evanston, we have a lot of Northside Evanston patrons who just check out at Wilmette. They get sent to collections because their home library is Evanston, and they use us as their main library. That's also kind of hard because our practices are different than Evanston's, and I can't waive a collection fee. I'm not going to. That's probably one of the things that I found was very hard to tell a patron when they don't use that as their main library.
I'm just throwing a question off the top of my head. So if I don't know if we even have the ability to, but if we were able to and wanted to change submission to transacting library, would there be a downfall for having maybe patrons use multiple libraries be submitted multiple times?
I thought that was what was problematic, that they were getting submitted a couple of times by different libraries at one time, but I don't remember if that was Polaris or Cersei or anymore.
It was
Right.
Polaris. It was
Was it
Polaris.
Polaris? Oh, okay. I can't remember anymore, but that's why I thought they standardized it to what you just said.
I just wonder how many patrons are still sent to collections, because I know a lot of libraries have been looking at that as equity in what is the return rate for that actual setup. Plus, with the pandemic, new things came up, and a lot of libraries went fines free. Something maybe to think about is have a lot of libraries. I've seen it come across on the Rails discussion board, still sending to unique. I know, just that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome back to Wilmette Library.
Any other comments? Anything you want to throw out there before we kind of wrap up the discussion?
Mm-mm.
Happy summer, everybody.
Yeah, I was to say with that, that was the last topic on the agenda. So, and this is the last meeting for this group. So thank you for serving this past fiscal year. I've learned a lot from all of you. So I really appreciate having you on board and sharing your knowledge.
Well, hopefully you'll get just as good a group for the next.
So it's always a good group. Okay, so with that, I am going to say this meeting is adjourned at 10:31 a.m. and I'm going to stop the recording.